Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. I was tagged by Justin, the triumphal reader, to do the 8 questions for readers tag. Now this is not actually a tag, but it was a series of questions created by Robert G., reader of books, to ask people who read questions that have nothing to do with reading. I will twist that a little bit. Let me read to you what Robert wrote in his original post. And in fact, I will link his original video and I will also link Justin's in the description box. Dear reader, we are a special breed, perhaps a vanishing species. In some not too distant future, there might be a generation which will live in a dystopian hellscape where there are no readers, where no one reads books anymore, and if there is any memory of us, we will be as mysterious to them as the stone heads of Easter Island. And so here are 8 very common questions which will be made unique because of how we readers answer them, and which might help those poor future souls understand what we once were. It's a very nice set of questions, and I have scrawled them out in my chicken scratch, and I will do my best. Now, I am going to take a literary turn, and I am going to turn this into a poetry reading, which is something I like to do anyhow. So, the first question, what is your favorite kind of food? It probably would now be Cantonese cuisine. For much of my early life, it would have been Indian, which Greg sorry, my mind blanks out when I need it. Another bibliophile reads talked about quite nicely in a video. In fact, I love seeing everybody's responses to this video. But just in the last 10, 15 years, eating regularly food of the Chinese persuasion, I think I have been swayed in that direction. Now, if we were to get more specific, anything with a daikon in it is, and I'm also very fond of a bitter melon, say bitter melon with flank steak. But let us not go too far in that direction. Let me take it back to Ye Olde England, a poem, one of the very first that I memorized as a lad, or not a lad really, I was an adult by then, by John Lilly. Some people pronounce his name Lyly. It's spelled L-Y-L-Y. Oh, for a bowl of fat canary. Oh, for a bowl of fat canary, rich Palermo sparkling sherry, some nectar else from Juno's dairy. Oh, these draughts would make us merry. Oh, for a wench, ideal in faces and in other daintier things. Tickled am I with her embraces, fine dancing in such fairy rings. Oh, for a plump, fat leg of mutton, veal, lamb, capon, pig, and coney. None is happy but a glutton, none an ass but who wants money. Wines indeed and girls are good, but brave victuals feast the blood. For wenches, wine, and lusty cheer, Jove would leap down to surfeit here. Now I should say that in my memory, the plump fat leg of mutton is much more prominent. I would always eliminate the final stanza. So the rousing finale for me would be, oh, for a plump fat leg of mutton, veal, lamb, capon, pig, and coney. None is happy but a glutton, none an ass, but who wants money. And everybody in my poetry group really liked the line about the plump fat leg of mutton as well. I realized that that poem could apply to other topics. So number 2, what is your favorite kind of music? Well, my facile answer generally tends to be live music. I like music that's live. I don't tend anymore to listen to much at all that's on a CD, although there were times when I went a little bit nuts buying some CDs. I like classical music. I used to sing in a chorus. But I also like folk music very much. And recently I posted something that song, I'll Be a Dandy, and Today, that's the title of it. And I got a lot of positive responses. Well, I think even more than listening to songs, I like and wish I indulged in more the act of singing itself. And so for that especially, I like folk songs. It's not in my repertoire to do any of these fancy melissamas and such like from classical, although at one time I wanted to head in that direction. So what song did I... Oh, music, that's right. I love, however, classical guitar. I can't do it, but I love to hear it. I took some guitar lessons at one time, and then an accident interrupted them. So with that, this is bringing me to Percy Shelley, and just a wonderful poem of his, To Jane, The Stars Were Twinkling, if I can find it here. After Adonais, yes, we're close. Yeah, just a lovely, lovely poem. To Jane, the keen stars were twinkling. The keen stars were twinkling, and the fair moon was rising among them, dear Jane. The guitar was tinkling, but the notes were not sweet till you sung them again. As the moon's soft splendor o'er the faint cold starlight of heaven is thrown, so your voice most tender to the strings without soul had then given its own. The stars will awaken, though the moon sleep a full hour later tonight. No leaf will be shaken, whilst the dews of your melody scatter delight. Though the sound overpowers, sing again with your dear voice revealing a tone of some world far from ours, where music and moonlight and feeling are one. These mostly are some of my oldest favorite poems. Number 3, if you were prevented from reading ever again, what would you do? And in this case, I would probably just lay about. I'm not so wedded to reading that I feel I couldn't do it. I would probably not take the trouble to learn Braille. I might do some audio booking. There's my cat with her reverse sneeze. Greg, again, talked about the various possibilities that prevented one from reading, one of those being blindness. And so that brought to mind the great poet Milton. So let me read from Uncle Milty. When I consider how my light is spent. When I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker, and present my true account, lest he returning chide. Doth God exact day labor, light denied? I fondly ask. But patience to prevent that murmur soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly. Thousands at his bidding speed, and post o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. Of course, Milton wrote poetry from his blindness. Number 4, favorite city. That would probably be Tokyo. I absolutely love Tokyo. I love so many things about it, not to mention the food that is available in Tokyo. If I knew Paris better, I might say Paris, because I would really love to know Paris better. But still, if I had the chance to pass an entire year in one of the two cities, it may well be Tokyo. Now, Carl at Please Read Your Book has spoken up the splendors of Shanghai, and I know Shanghai as it is today, not at all. I was there briefly some 20 years ago and liked it. That would be another good bet, but I don't, as I say, know it, so Tokyo remains my favorite. However, I don't know of any poems about Tokyo. I'm sure they exist about Paris. I could do the Cesar Vallejo, Me Moriré in Paris or whatever on a Thursday. But I will read a poem about a city that I don't particularly like, but one of the most famous poems that we have in English, titled London by William Blake. I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every ban, the mind-forged manacles I hear. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. But most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlot's curse blasts the newborn infant's tear and blights with plagues the marriage hearse. Number 5, favorite beverage, alcoholic. That would probably be wine. I enjoy other things here and there, but when it comes down to it, probably wine is more of a standby for me, or more of the go-to drink of choice in, say, a social situation. Though I don't do a lot of drinking. There were phases when my partner and I went to a place called the Taco Joint, out of business now, that made the best margaritas. And those margaritas could very well pop out some glass of wine. I'm not a connoisseur, so I can't taste all of the terroir, or whatever it's called. I don't know what kind of barrel it was aged in and so forth. My palate is not so fine. I will read a song that does not really deal with wine. I suppose I could go to something by Abu Nuwas, or even, what is it, Omar Khayyam, but I won't do that. So this is by Ben Jonson. Song to Celia. Drink to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with mine. Or leave a kiss but in the cup, and I'll not look for wine. The thirst that from the soul doth rise, doth ask a drink divine. But might I of Jove's nectar sup, I would not change for thine. I sent thee late a rosy wreath, not so much honoring thee, as giving it a hope that there it could not withered be. But thou thereon didst only breathe, and sent'st it back to me. Since when it grows and smells, I swear, not of itself but thee. The original is something, I think in Greek it could be, I don't know, Catullus or something like that. I really don't know the original, but a number of poets of Ben Jonson's age did versions of that poem, and his is the one that I like best. Now, favorite beverage, non-alcoholic. This was a little bit more problematic, because I mean, my answer would straight off probably be coffee, although I like tea very much. Tea, it depends on the mood. As part of my daily ritual, coffee is much more important, and I like coffee in any of its various manifestations. So French press, that's good. That Italian mocha pot, or whatever it's called, that's good. Lately, I've been having some cold brew, because we have this coffee in a can that is not all that good, but I've found that when I make a cold brew with it, it's quite delicious. And then all of the other types, flat white, mocha, blah, blah, blah. I'm good with all of that, but just a straight coffee. And the sad thing is, I'm not really a good coffee maker myself. I do my best, and I like coffee enough that I will be content with a cup of coffee that somebody else would turn their nose up. But I do know the difference. However, as far as finding a poem, I just could not think of any poem that deals either with coffee or tea. And if I wanted to spend an afternoon, I'm sure I could have come up with something. But I thought, well, let me pull out Cavafy, or Cavafy, I'm not really sure how you say his name. He's got to have something that takes place, if not over a cup of coffee, in a cafe. So I found something that is titled At the Cafe Entrance. Something they said beside me directed my attention toward the cafe entrance, and I saw the beautiful body that looked as if Eros had made it from his consummate experience, joyfully modeling its symmetrical limbs, heightening sculpturally its stature, modeling the face with emotion, and imparting by the touch of his hands a feeling on the brow, on the eyes, on the lips. This, I think, is the translation that first brought the poet to the attention of the English-speaking world. I have another one which I couldn't find, published by Princeton, and I think even these two older translations have been superseded. I have not seen any of the newer, but in either case, I think that the work of the original poet shines forth. So oftentimes it is said that the poetry is what is lost in the translation, not in the case of this poet, to be sure. So number 7, favorite time of day. For me, that would be the morning. I like the morning. It's when I'm alert. And I'm going to read a poem by Claude McKay called Dawn in New York. He, in this poem, is not so positive about the dawn in New York. The dawn, the crimson tinted comes out of the low, still skies, over the hills, Manhattan's roofs and spires and cheerless domes. The dawn, my spirit to its spirit thrills. Almost the mighty city is asleep. No pushing crowd, no tramping feet. But here and there a few cars groaning creep along above and underneath the street, bearing their strangely ghostly burdens by. The women and the men of garish nights, their eyes wine-weakened and their clothes awry, grotesques beneath the strong electric lights. The shadows wane, the dawn comes to New York, and I go darkly rebel to my work. Not the only poem by Claude McKay featuring the dawn. And question number 8, favorite season. When I was young, I would have said autumn or fall, without a doubt. About, I don't know, it must be 13, 14 years ago now, my partner and I started some gardening. I'm not very good at it. She would probably say the same. But since that time, my feeling has reversed itself, and I just love the spring, and I look forward to the spring. And when I'm walking my dog in the morning, I like to see the stages of the spring's arrival. I just love the spring. If you ever read Japanese literature, you'll know that nationally speaking, autumn or fall is the favored season, and it is indeed the most poetic season. Much along the way, some people get mad because Edgar Allan Poe said the most poetic topic of all is the death of a beautiful woman. He's correct in a sense. He's very correct. Now, if you were talking about poetry in China and possibly older stuff, even in English, it would be perhaps missing home and being away from home, that kind of thing. But when it comes to the seasons, without a doubt, the autumn is the winner, even though sometimes we find ourselves asking, where are the songs of spring? And so that should tip you off where I'm going with this one. to a poem by John Keats, one of his magnificent odes to autumn. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel, to set budding more and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor, thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next swath and all its twined flowers. And sometimes, like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press, with patient look, thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. Where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn among the river sallows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies, and full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. Hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft the redbreast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. From September 19th, 1819, of that magnificent living year. Of course, the birthday of John Keats is coming up in October. I thought I would just pile on another seasonal poem, the famous, I don't know what this is about. Sorry. I don't know why that is happening. Oh, well, sorry. Is it this? I really don't know what's going on here. That must have been that. Sigh. Okay. The famous number 73. That time of year thou mayest in me behold, when yellow leaves, or none, or few, do hang upon those boughs which shake against the cold, bear runed choirs, where late the sweet birds sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day, as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away death's second self, that seals up all in rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire, that on the ashes of his youth doth lie, as the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. This thou perceivest which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou must leave ere long. So this has turned out to be a magnificent reading of 9 of the best poems you could ask for. Thank you very much, Robert, for asking these questions. It was fun to do this untag, but it has also been wonderful to just hear everybody offering up their responses to these questions. I think to some degree we are already living in a time past the age of books. I don't think most people read. We on BookTube have found community because the internet agglomerates, if that's a word, community for any possible topic. You know, if it were people who are born with a certain defect of the pinky fingernail, there would be a group for it. And I think that we readers are something of that kind of a minority. What the future brings, it is very easy to see a future age in which reading and writing are both relics of the past, only available to some select few. But why should we go there? Meanwhile, let's abolish ICE if we can and struggle and strive mightily against the rise of authoritarianism in the United States and drive the fascists out from their safe places. Thank you for stopping by my channel.